Hi, my name is Alexander Bryant, and I will be going over two different pieces of art for the My Student Art Critic video. The first one was a painting done by Rembrandt van Gyn, titled Self-Portrait, which was done in 1636. The Norton Simon Museum lists the following under the painting. Rembrandt was his own favorite model, and there is no moment in the artist's biography that he did not vividly represent. Rembrandt's portrayal portrays himself here in the characteristic beret that has been associated with the artistic milieu since the 16th century. The chain around his neck was a symbol of prestige, awarded to artists often by a noble patron. The combination of elegant attire and an artist's attributes elevates Rembrandt to the status of a fine artist. This distinction was important at a time when artists were only beginning to realize their social standing among the creative elite. And then for my second painting, done by Vincent van Gogh, titled Portrait of a Peasant, created in August of 1888, the Norton Simon Museum has the following underneath. Sunburnt and weather-beaten, the Provençal peasant Patience Escalier gazes out of Van Gogh's picture with blazing intensity. Dazzling yellow, vivid blue, green, and red make this portrait painted in August 1888. Perhaps the artist's most daring coloristic experiment to date.
Instead of trying to reproduce exactly what I had before my eyes, he wrote to his brother Theo, I used color more arbitrarily in order to express myself with force. He called the picture a sort of man with a hoe, referring to a celebrated work by the previous generation's great painter of peasants, Jean-Francois Millet, Man with a Hoe, today in the J. Paul Getty Museum.
So those are the two paintings that are going to be discussed, compared, and juxtaposed against each other in the following essay. Both of these paintings have a wide range of similarities and differences between the two of them, with one of those similarities being the main content of the pieces. They are both self-portraits. The subjects of the two are both centered in the middle of the painting, with both subjects being older men. The eyes of each man staring into the very soul of its viewer. However, the differences begin to reveal themselves in the specific messages, contexts, color, light, and brushstrokes that are done by these two artists. The self-portrait, done by Rembrandt van Gyn, showcases a man of high class, wealth, and social status, as per mentioned back in the Norton Simons description. He is a pale man with minimal wrinkles that are mapping out the course of his face. He wears a fancy beret and clothes that indicate a background of riches. With a chain around his neck and a collared coat, the man in the picture exudes arrogance and wealth. His eyes stare in two different directions, one gazing off towards the distance and the other directly at the viewer. And this is where, once again, the similarities begin to divulge. In the Portrait of a Peasant by Van Gogh, the main subject is unexpectedly a peasant. His skin is tanned from working outside in the heat. His clothes are worn and sun-battered with light bleaching on his jacket. Atop his head lays an old hat made of hay to keep the sun out of his eyes. He is in all sense of a word faded, fatigued, and tired, and in need of a good night, a good meal, and a good night's rest. His cheeks are sunken in, and his eyes tell a story of tragedy. He's a man digging his own grave as he struggles to put food on the table. He's poverty-stricken, and we can see that, which is masterfully done by Van Gogh. The overall style of the two cannot be more different. Rembrandt van Gyn employs a style resembling that of, forgive my pronunciation, but chiaroscuro? I apologize once again. It's a type of painting that emphasizes the contrast of lights and shadow in order to add realism to a work. That, combined with the texture of his brushstrokes, attempt to bring the painting to life, a sort of hyper-realistic take on the portrait format, which is almost comparative to a modern-day photograph. He employs darker tones of deep blues, browns, and oranges, and beiges in this painting, adding to the realism of this piece. Where if you look at Van Gogh, you only need to glance to see the obvious differences between the two. Whereas in the self-portrait by Gyn, he uses light and precise brushstrokes that have been painstakingly gone over time after time after time to find this source of realism. Whereas Van Gogh, he uses large and dynamic brushstrokes. Thick, vibrant colors that the audience can almost taste. Rich blues, greens, and yellows pop and crackle in the viewer's eyes when gazing upon the piece. Van Gogh is more abstract in his style, almost finger painting-like with his brushstrokes to create this masterpiece. The man in this piece is less symmetrical than a traditional painting of human beings. His eyes are slightly misshapen, his shoulders are asymmetrical, and he has a face that lacks any form of symmetry. And yet, his struggle, hardship, and fight for normal life is all conveyed throughout eyes that plead for help. Both Regen's self-portrait and Van Gogh's Portrait of a Peasant serve different agendas and functions within their respective time periods and artistic characteristics. The two artists both hail from the Netherlands, which might make one look for similarities in their agendas and ideas. However, these two artists have been separated by 200 years, which will undoubtedly yield many differences in their artistic agendas and functions. Regen was an artist who operated in what is known as the Dutch Golden Age. It was a time when the Netherlands flourished in every aspect of their society. Economic stability, increased scientific advancements, religious tolerance and reverence, all of which contributed to the increase of artistic and cultural ideas. And in order to make a name for themselves, up-and-coming Dutch artists would create self-portraits of themselves to highlight their ability as an artist, while also showcasing self-expression and promoting themselves. So this way, they would double up in self-promotion, which would in turn lead to social and economic advancement. Rembrandt van Regen's self-portrait done in 1636 would portray Regen as a man deep in introspection, a man deep in touch with his own mind and his surroundings, a man of wealth and prosperity. On top of this, he would showcase his ability as an artist by putting painstaking detail into the shadows, lights, and texture of his painting, getting as real as you can with his painting. Not only is he displaying these technical abilities as an artist, but he's also promoting himself in order to advance among the elites in Dutch society. While Regen attempts to portray himself alongside those in power, Van Gogh depicts the lives of hardworking, ordinary citizens. His artwork is empathetic and understanding. It's real and unfiltered. Other than the aesthetic approach, Van Gogh's artistic mission was to illuminate the social injustices and realities of individuals less fortunate than those in power. This mission is masterfully portrayed in A Portrait of a Peasant, which, in the name states, is a portrait of a peasant. Van Gogh himself went through his own infamous periods of struggle throughout his life, at which point he developed a massive sense of empathy for those undergoing that same struggle. In his travels throughout the rural regions, and the French countryside, the artist experienced firsthand the trials and tribulations of peasant life, which brought forth a perspective that was not typically shown in high art. Van Gogh breaks the mold that was established in the Dutch Golden Age by artists like Regen, and showcases the underside of society that those in power wish not to see, while at the same time uplifting the common man and shifting attitudes throughout society. When we look at these two pieces of art, it becomes clear that both these portraits are created and crafted to perfection by these two artists, but where they really divulge is in form, style, and function. In summary, Rembrandt van Rijn and Vincent van Gogh are extremely well-established Dutch artists that are both masters of their craft. While they do differ in format, style, and function, they both succeed in offering their own distinct artistic approaches to the portrait format. They both tell a respective story that is based in the artist's own culture and lives. Regen and Van Gogh both offer compelling insights and interpretations of society and the complexities of the human experience that continue to be studied in the modern age. Thank you so much.